get a better look at what the tire is going to be like. That's basically where, that's within a 1/4 inch or so of where the tire will sit. So a good portion of the tire is kind of sitting from this bead line on the rocker panel out. So typically the quarter panel would be basically level with this body line here. Not exactly, but very close. And the original tire would have sat in here somewhere. So, you know, we're a good 4 or 5 inches out, maybe 6 inches out on each side from where the outside of a stock bias tire on one of these would be. I'm not sure if I took any video of this, but this is all welded in. So this is probably overkill. It definitely is. But I looked at the difference in weight between an 18 gauge panel and this, and it was about 12 pounds heavier to go to this, but it's much stronger. I'm not going to have to worry about any deflection from here, and this is 12 gauge too, so it's also heavy enough for me to mount the roll bar as it comes through the package tray here down onto the upper section of where the frame is. I could mount it. I could weld directly to this. I don't need to put a plate on here first. This whole piece is strong enough. And then from the inside of the wheel well, I just put some weld through primer on here because this is not completely finished. So I still have to just clean up this weld a little bit. It's just got some spray paint on it right now, so it's showing a bit of a shadow line there, but I've boxed this all in now. The bottom still needs to be capped once the cradle and everything can come back out. I'll cap that in because I need to get the grinder and stuff in there, and all of this is in the way. But I've got this capped and this rail kind of connected in here. So there's lots of structure there. I'm not worried about that section where it's tied in now. And from the inside, so obviously the torque tube, the 7-speed, and I think I can still get a back seat in here. It's going to be a very tight back seat, but it'll be just for emergencies. This doesn't come in a lot further. It's about 2.5 or 3 inches further than the original back used to come down here. So there is less space. However, the old backrest of the seat was very thick. So I have a little control over that now. I can probably make up most of what I've lost just by making the back of the seat thinner. And then I'm gonna have to find some bases out of a car with 2 separate seats in the back, like a 2nd gen or a 3rd gen F body, something like that. There's a bunch of different vehicles. Something that I can strip the upholstery off and use the frame and the foam, if I can cut it back, whatever, and just have that reupholstered. Because the top of this will all just be carpet. I don't think I'm going to run a center console. I think I'm just kind of like the look of just having the shifter, just carpet and the shifter just come through. For the parking brake, I'm probably going to get the electric module from the C7 Corvette. So you just need a button for that then. Working on the Camaro again. I was building my transmission cover for the rear of the transmission tunnel. I couldn't find anyone in my area who had the ability to bend with this radius. This is the radius of my 1-inch die for my tube bender. So I'm putting a hoop at the front. This will form the front, and this is the back where it's going to meet the, I guess the floor where the differential is. So I made up this little box to fold it around. I started at the top. I cut the flange out where I knew the radius was going to be, so I'll just add a flange back in here after. I screwed all this together and clamped the top in with a piece of wood above it to stop that from bowing. And then I just used the ratchet straps to pull it around. So I know it's not going to hold it very well. There's going to be some spring back when this opens. So I'm going to weld this front section in first. The tube that goes inside here. So I'm going to clean all this up now with some isopropyl alcohol and spray some weld-through primer on it. Clamp this piece in and get that tacked, and then I'll pull this apart and see what I need to do on the back to hold that in place. Okay, I've got one of the straps off and cleaned up inside. Put some weld-through primer on, and I put the tubing in here. Fits pretty well. A little better on this side than it does on this side, but I think I can get a clamp on that. And I'll get some welds on it, so that'll be the next thing. There's the transmission cover in rough, just sitting in place. Now I've made it way longer than it needs to be. This is going to be cut off around here somewhere. So the bottom, probably 5.5 or 6 inches, is not needed. Just went with 48 inches because that's the width of the sheet, and I figured the extra length here gave me enough leverage to pull it around this radius and give it a nice round edge. So that, this flange here, I'm going to take this out, I'm going to hammer this flat. This is actually going to sit up on top of this ledge here, and that's going to give me enough space to get all my connectors in, because right now, I don't know if you'll be able to see in there, but the transmission is basically right underneath that, so it's sitting on top of it. It's what's supporting it. So that, I think that's about 1.25 inches or 1 3/8. That'll give me enough space. So that's going to be tomorrow's job.